Hello, lads. How are you today?
I'm okay.
That's
I'm more
good.
concerned with how you are, Adam.
Yeah.
I feel amazing. Always great. I am heartbroken. No, I feel like crap today. I'm not gonna lie.
What
I
has the last 24 hours been for Adam?
so at this time yesterday, I was getting ready to go to the viewing party at the Bell Center. I had hope. I had enthusiasm. I had spent the day trying to find my exact entrance because I thought it was the entrance L. There was no L, but there was I, and I hate the way that some people don't put the little dot on the top of I, so that was a little embarrassing. There were some large, very large staircases around the Bell Center, which I went up and down multiple times. Um, and then my team got eliminated in the Stanley Cup Finals. Um, so it's not great. It's not great at all. It feels terrible. I don't want to do the show today, but I am for the people. But I think before we get into that, I think my moping and pissing, and I don't even like that's nothing. The cup is a big story, but I don't think it's anything. I think the biggest story of this week, no matter what, Matis Kizlenix, the Columbus Blue Jackets goaltender who passed away earlier in the week, some incidents with some fireworks. We're not going to go too much into the exact details because I'm sure you've seen it. But we like talking about important stuff, and what's important is, we send our well wishes, we send our regards to the family. You know what? We talked about this a lot when Walter Gretzky passed away. You see a man's legacy or a person's legacy when they're gone, and you see what people say about them. And the enthusiasm that Kivzonics seemed to have had from teammates of like Josh Anderson, David Savard, the statements from Merzlikins and Nick Foligno, you can tell just how much of a great, I don't want to say young man, because I think he was very young. Couldn't have been more than 24, I want to say off the
He was
top of my head.
24, yeah.
24. Far too young. And just, yeah, again, condolences to the family. It's just a crappy situation.
Yeah. It really sucks. And I think it's so unfortunate, but it's time, like it's events like these that remind sports fans that these guys are humans, man. Like, there's more than just the guys on the ice or the guys on the court. Like, they're people off the ice, off the court, or whatever sport they may be playing.
What you could see that especially with Merzlikins. Apparently, the word out of Columbus has been like that family of Merzlikins and Kizonics were very much. It was almost like a brother dynamic. So, and from here, it's a hard turn always from going from a tragedy to this silly thing we love called hockey. But we're gonna do it. And starting off, yeah, it's happened. The 2021 Stanley Cup champions. Back-to-back years, it's the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was the moment on the jumbotron they showed Gary Bettman show up with a Conn Smythe. I left the building. I haven't watched it. I've barely watched much of the Habs pressers afterwards. I took a video of them celebrating after the game just to remember the pain and to delete the footage once Montreal eventually do the thing themselves, but. I don't know what to say, guys. This is a feeling of hollowness, of despair. This sucks. This absolutely sucks.
Yeah, no, like even from an outside perspective, you were so close, but it's like you just missed it. Is the feel? I think that's the way I would describe that feeling. And I didn't watch all of them, but I did catch some of the pressers from the guys, and like you could see it on their faces, especially the older guys in Weber and in Price, and they said the cliche things, but like I actually felt that they believed it.
When Carey Price is like, "This is my fault," and Weber says, "No, it's not."
Right.
Like it's you saw like the clips, like you saw Gallagher cry. What scumbags, whoever burglarized him, we saw that came out today.
Yeah.
What a loser. I like that's just that's a guy that Brendan Gallagher, I tweeted this last night. He's more than the heartbeat of the Montreal Canadiens. He's almost the heartbeat of the whole of Montreal. We looked before, must have been game 3, when he was, during the national anthem, they cut to Brendan Gallagher, and he's singing the anthem in French with the crowd. That's the type of guy he is. They were a team. It sounds so silly to say, but we always think of that Pierre Dorian line. Well, we're a team, but in this case, I don't think you can sit there and call out the Habs for their effort.
No.
We know now that some of them, at least Toffoli has a groin injury, which explains a lot with the way he played in the finals. Gallagher has a groin and other things, apparently, as all Ducharme said. We know Jeff Petrie needs surgery. Shea Weber is, I don't know how many good fingers and thumbs he has. But this is...
Sorry, does Jeff Petrie need surgery on his hand? Is that what it was, or somewhere else?
So all Ducharme said was it was something in his hand, but the report initially was it was the dislocated fingers that required surgery, but he could play, hockey players playing hello. What was it Alex Killorn has?
Let's see if I can find it.
With the tibia.
It was like a broken tibia. He had surgery. They put a rod in it, and he's like, "Yeah, I really wanted to play." I'm like, "My God!"
Like he went into the the early skates, and then he's like, "No, I can't do it."
Yeah, broken fibula.
That's anything that sounds like a fibula. Like, what is this? Where is that?
Daniel.
Isn't it like near your leg?
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it's in your leg, right? It's
Is that the really big bone?
It's in front of your. It's either in front or beside your fibula. Again, we're not doctors or
no.
We didn't take anatomy.
We're in journalism. Yeah, we didn't take anatomy.
We're clearly showing that right now.
Yeah,
it's amazing that he even came back for that one game alone. It was like, hey there, I'm gonna try and put. No, you were not, sir. No. Hockey players.
It's the finals, but yeah, I know what you mean. The Canadians, they really kind of did bring it to their all in terms of what's going on with the injuries, and it was weird. I don't think I'd ever see in my life Shea Weber cry.
Yeah,
and that really felt like I felt that one.
Yeah,
where it's a guy where he's considered like a stoic guy, where he's someone where I'm all business and all that, and it hurt me more than I thought it would, because it's just that realization where it's a guy that you've followed his entire career for so long, and they keep reminding you that he was drafted in 2003, and this is the first time he got through the conference. He got to the conference finals, and then he got to the finals.
That sucks, man. And that guy, Shea Weber, looking back at Game 4, he turned it on, man. That's a player who, along with those other members of the top 4, picked up the slack for an entire pairing, and was playing on a bad night, 25 minutes. Ah, man. Looking at Tampa Bay, though, great, but they really, I'm bitter, I know, but they do something that has only been done once in the Cap era, and that's back-to-back Stanley Cup wins. They joined the Penguins in doing that. And what might be the best team we've seen in the Cap era as well. And are they over the cap? Yeah. Sucks. Who cares? They did it. I don't whatever.
So Martin St. Louis said, this is the best team.
I liked that Martin St. Louis was giving credit to Montreal when the commissioner doesn't even mention it. He does every other year about the team that loses, not to the Canadian team though.
No.
I saw a comparison. Could you imagine if the MLB commissioner dunked on the Yankees? Hi there. I know Bettman hates Canada, but 2 of your most important teams are Canadian.
Do you want to know the final numbers? They actually just released it for the finals. This is from Sportsnet.
The US ratings or the Sportsnet ones exactly?
The Sportsnet ones.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I wonder.
So what does this mean? So approximately the playoffs reached 26 million viewers across Sportsnet, CBC, and TVA Sports, which is 70% of the Canadian population.
Wow.
Average viewers per game year on year is up 51%. The overall playoffs is up 73%.
You know, and I know people will say, "Yeah, what about the U.S. numbers?" I get if you're mad if the Jets were to make it. It's just I don't think it's a good look, and Batman's not going to forget. Like if he makes very few public appearances throughout the year, and we know when Gary Bettman talks, he means every word he says. He means it, and I think it's a terrible look, a terrible one when your commissioner purposely does not say anything about one of your most important franchises. I know he hates the North Division. Again, we all saw that press conference when the Jets came back. I know he hates Canada, but I mean, try and hide it, Gary. Like, I think before, the three of us have been very complimentary of Bettman with what he did in the States.
The bubbles.
But, like, at this point, I'm so bitter about this, I don't care anymore. And remember, the draft is again now in Montreal in 2022. They get their draft back. They're going to remember. I'm going to be at the draft, hopefully. I'm going to remember, and I'm going to do his head off.
All three of us will be there.
It's just like there's just a certain level of respect you need to have for a team that's won 24 titles, and again is the birthplace of freaking hockey. I don't need to go off because obviously you want to give respect to Tampa Bay, but I can't with Bettman anymore. I can't do it.
Are we all on the Will Baldwin trade of he's horrible?
He texted me obviously because we were chatting, and he's like, "If you want to bash Bettman, I'll come on." So I'm like, "Okay, well,
let's do it.
All right.
I think I've had a large 180 on Gary Bettman. Like, I think because he made a couple good points. He's like, yeah, but it's just gonna grow, right? Like, what has he done specifically? Like, he's threw in franchises in random places. Now, he strategically picked Seattle and Vegas because they were available.
Seattle should have happened years ago.
Like, getting into Vegas first was like the smartest thing the NHL has done in recent history.
Oh, yeah.
Same with Seattle. And then Arizona is like the dumbest thing.
Still hasn't worked out. He's waiting all these years, and oh, great. Looks like first Doe never did anything, and now the next best player in OEL is on his way out. We'll talk about Bettman a little later because he had an interview with Ron McLean going into Game 4. But
the numbers for Games 4 and 5 are out, but it's kind of similar. The numbers for Games 1 to 3 I have are similar to what they were last year.
Okay.
Around 1.5 to 2 million.
Okay. Well, like, honestly, you got to remember here is I think it will be good for the game in the States anyway that you have a back-to-back championship, like in the States.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, what am I saying? You know what I mean by a team, obviously, considering they've had every cup since 94.
Yeah.
But going to ESPN, like, that's something they can build on is you have the super team. And, like, legit, they are a super team is the closest thing we're ever going to – or since Detroit in the early 2000s, you could be – or, like, Colorado in the early 2000s, too, more likely. But Tampa Bay, focus on them. Sorry, Tampa. Except Kucherov, you're not getting an apology. We'll get to Kucherov in a second. We'll get to him. Patrick Maroon, I think, is the first wicked story to talk about. You remember how he takes less money after his time in Edmonton to go to St. Louis, play in front of his kid, wins there, goes to Tampa after still not getting that sort of payday you expect for him to get, wins there in the bubble, and then yet again signs cheap there for some trade protection like everyone does in Tampa, and he wins a third straight cup. Who was the last player to do that, I wonder, to win 3 straight?
Shaq and Kobe.
Probably in hockey.
Yes, hockey. I did not mean Kobe Bryant.
In hockey, off the top of my head, it'd have to be the Islanders dynasty.
Yeah, in the 80s.
But I can try to find it.
Like if there's a player that just hopped along, like maybe.
I'm trying to think.
So the Blues won in 19, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a member of the Penguins who left and jumped on board with the Capitals? Because I know a lot of their players did it. That's someone I could think about. If maybe a member of the Penguins hopped over, like depending on maybe Carl Hagelin, maybe someone like that. Yeah.
What I have here is these are names you definitely don't know. So I think this was pre-expansion. Okay. Maroon joined. This is from SportingNews.com. Maroon joined Ed Lidzenberger, Abe McDonald, and Eddie Gerard. That trio did it before expansion.
And
That's with two different teams.
Wow.
Maroon is the first. This is from NHLPR. Maroon is the first player to win the Stanley Cup in 3 straight years, since multiple players did so with the 1980s New York Islanders dynasty.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a thing to like a hell of a feather in your cap. Wayne didn't do that then. Mario obviously, that's incredible, man. Good for him. He's always been a good story, Patrick Maroon, I felt.
He was like an up and down guy. I remember he fit with the Ducks. He didn't want to. He didn't re-sign there, and then he becomes like one of those guys that are like he should not be on the McDavid line.
No. So
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong. Was Patrick Maroon not the guy Drew Doughty ripped apart for being an AHLer?
Was he?
Was that Patrick Maroon? I'm gonna look that up because if not, all of a sudden Patrick Maroon has more cups than Drew Doughty. Which is hilarious.
This is a hidden story. I didn't know.
All
these Drew Doughty things come out that I'm like, what?
I know what you're talking about. It's that video of the chirping going on during the game. I know. I just don't know if it was him or not.
I wonder how many times that happens. You know, like those chirps, those types of chirps.
All the time. It's just we
time.
never know about it.
Austin Matthews and
Matt Martin.
what's the other guy's name?
Oh my God.
Scott Sabourin.
Yes, it was unbelief. No, it happened. Matt Martin. There's a video of Matt Martin talking to someone. I don't know who he's talking to. It's when he plays for the Island. When he was playing for the Islanders the first time around, and he's like, "You were in the AHL longer than I was." It's like,
Yeah, buddy, you suck at hockey.
Yeah, buddy, you suck at
This is it. So someone left a comment, end credit scene of this video. Maroon would go on to score 27 goals in 2017 with the Oilers. Sorry, yeah, in 2027. Earning him contracts with the Blues and the Lightning where he would win back-to-back Stanley Cups. Doughty, who spent the last years of his prime with an extremely depleted and washed-up LA team, chirping his way to becoming the most average D-man in the league. Oh, shout out to Sita XE for this comment. Oh, buddy, you suck at hockey.
That's like a hot take thing. I remember Dom Luszczyszyn, he wrote about it where it's like, I'm going to be like different from everybody else and pretend it's not 2016. Drew Doughty's not on my Olympic team.
Patrick Maroon that year finished 6th in scoring on the Edmonton Oilers.
And do you know what's funny? He might be the best line mate that Connor McDavid has ever had besides Milan Lucic. Sorry, not besides. Honestly,
Leon Draisaitl.
Top 3 wingers McDavid's ever had besides Leon Draisaitl might honestly be Patrick Maroon. Like goal scoring wise, I don't know if Lucic had more than 27 or he might have been around there. Honestly, Patrick Maroon might be the best player McDavid's played with in the NHL.
Lucic had 23 in his first year. And then
Patrick Maroon, they should have kept him.
They didn't put Eberle or Hall on McDavid, right?
I don't think it was like Benoit Pouliot in his rookie year.
Oh my God.
They kind of did what like Pittsburgh does with Crosby sometimes where they'll just throw him a line mate and then they'll do well. And it's like, how about you just give him a proper line mate?
Was his rookie was McDavid not on the line? I think his rookie line was Benoit Pouliot and Nail Yakupov.
Never forget, Benoit Pouliot was a top 5 pick.
And the Oilers. Okay, something else. Andre Vasilevsky gets the Conn Smythe Trophy. I think honestly, with Tampa Bay, it's flip a coin. If Braden Point hadn't like dried up in the finals with his goal scoring, then credit to Phil Deneau there. But if Braden Point had probably kept scoring, he probably would have gone the concept. But I mean, Andre Vasilevsky in every game where Tampa would clinch a playoff advancement, shutout. My goodness, what a performance from the Russian goaltender!
And yeah, it just goes back to the argument, and John Cooper said it as well. It's kind of.
You're about to rip my heart out, Alex. I know what you're about to say.
Carey Price is the goaltender of his generation, and I truly believe this series, more than the series against Philadelphia, was a passing of a torch moment. Yeah. Not that I'm not saying Carey Price is going to fall off the face of the earth. That's not the point I'm making. But it's that this is the new generation, the generational goalie in Andre Vasilevsky.
why could Carter Hart have not been garbage this year?
I heard that.
Yeah.
I heard that in 2010. I remember that.
What?
But that one was already far fetched because they weren't young guys anymore.
What would
Well,
What's
that?
2006. Sorry, not 2010. 2006.
What was that?
When in the Olympics, where it's like Luongo should start, not Martin Brodeur, and then they both were bad in Torino.
So I guess before we keep going here, we do have an action-packed show, so we might go a little kind of long here. I want to quickly look at both what Montreal and Tampa Bay have to do in the future, aka Seattle, and really their contract situation. We're going to start with Montreal here. I am going to quickly screen share, and I can get up all of Montreal's, as we would call it, their cat-friendly stuff. So here we are. Here's the Montreal Canadiens, cat-friendly. No, why do I have an ad from the Edmonton and Jasper National Park?
We're going to Edmonton, guys.
What happened there?
Well, so we got to call Will. I don't think he'll be happy about that.
No, he won't be. By the way, shout out to Montreal having a lot of picks this draft. There you go, Birch. So if we look at Montreal in the expansion draft, you can probably guess that it's either going to be Jake Allen they're going to lose, or maybe one of their defensemen, aka one of Edmondson and Sherrod, because you have to protect Jeff Petrie, and they're probably going to protect Shea Weber because the loyalty that Birch has. And I mean, he's at healthy, he's still probably their best defenseman. I was looking at this earlier today, and I kind of realized Montreal's forward group it's not in a terrible shape for expansion, because I kind of realized I don't think they're going to protect Jonathan Drouin.
Really?
I feel, and this has been the point going across Habs Twitter, that maybe it's the best thing that Jonathan Drouin gets a new start somewhere. I'm not saying it would for sure be Seattle, but I would think that it's time for, and I think it's for Jonathan's own sake that he starts off somewhere new. I'm not, again, I will never, ever, ever question the work ethic of Jonathan Drouin. He gave his heart out every night. It's just, sometimes you need a new change of scenery. And you know how hockey players are. The last thing I want for Jonathan Drouin is to feel like he let the team down by not being available. He shouldn't be. It's not his fault. But you know how some people are going to be.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, your mic.
God damn it.
Your mic. I guess just even whether it's Seattle or not, or like if it's a different team, I think we've had this discussion before. Maybe the best start, a new team would be a good idea for Jonathan Drouin, and I do think Seattle could be a really good fresh start for him. Like, you're literally starting. There's no other team that's literally starting from scratch like the Seattle Kraken, and that could be. Because I don't know how high the expectations are going to be, obviously depending on the what the team looks like after the expansion and the draft and et cetera. But even if they don't make the playoffs, it's not going to be the same as it is in a huge hockey market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I think he came into Montreal with those expectations where, and with the Lightning, they even said like, oh, watch out for this guy. Look how he's going to do. And then remember when he was doing so well in the playoffs for the Lightning when they finally brought him up again against the Penguins. And then comes into Montreal. It's a huge market, and they expected him to be that goal-scoring guy that ever since Halifax, or even during the World Juniors, like, you just got to wait for Jonathan Drouin. You just got to have to wait and see what he's going to become. And I think that, honestly, the pressure got to him. And even if he does remain with the Canadiens, looking at who broke out, who was consistent, I can't see him in the top 6 anywhere.
It's kind of a shame when I was just thinking, I'm like, man, do you know who if you had a more, like, I don't know, if Phil Deneau had a bit more offense to him, and we'll talk about Phil Deneau's contract in the situation, would some sort of combination with a more complete centerman like a Jesperi Kotkaniemi, we'll also get to, and then you can have the playmaking Jonathan and the goal scoring Caulfield. Unfortunately, though, Anderson, Suzuki, and Caulfield are probably going to be Montreal's A line. I'm not calling them a first line because, the way the Habs play, but that is probably going to be the A line next year. Not to mention, you also see if they keep Phil Deneau, that top line spot on the wing, Thomas Tatar is probably gone, which means Tyler Toffoli can split into that spot, and then it's and who knows? And then who knows some of the other guys? Like where exactly is Jake Evans gonna exactly go here? Who do they bring in the offseason?
Yeah.
There isn't a great spot for Jonathan Drouin, unfortunately.
I had an idea on my drive home, and I texted you about it afterwards about the Anderson stuff.
Yes.
I do think it's possible to keep Jonathan Drouin in this lineup. Because if you want it, let's say you keep Philip Deneau, obviously we're assuming Tatar walks and whatever, and Stahl walks, and I mean, you probably keep Perry, but like Stahl and Tatar probably gone. If you make that third line, or if whatever we're going to call it, that's like the line that Philip Deneau is on as your shutdown line, I could see the top six being Anderson, Suzuki, Caulfield, which if it doesn't get you +5 chemistry in NHL, there's something wrong. Yeah. And then you go something like Drouin, Kotkaniemi, and Toffoli. Like
that's not bad, actually.
Man, there we go.
This is the one thing I remember we spoke. We had a very heated discussion before the regular season about Phil Deneau. The big problem Montreal might face is if there is salary, because I also look at some of these guys and I think one of Armia and Lehkonen stay, and I think it's Lehkonen because I think as a penalty killer he's just too important.
Right.
And I think maybe a young guy like Ilonen is probably going to get that spot, I would imagine. And again, at the end of the day, Armia was part of that fourth line. And, Byron has term. He'll be around. They like Evans. If Deneau, if the money, and I think the way the playoffs went, there's if that negotiation, if Bergeron wants to make sure he brings Phil back, then it makes sense to Gio Drouin for that cap. And sure, then maybe whether it is to shore up some depth or if it's to bring in a defenseman, maybe one who can work a second power play unit, because we kind of need to work on that, please. Man, it's weird. It's going to be it's a very questionable offseason for Montreal. There's a lot of stuff, though. I don't think it's going to be as busy as Tampa Bay's.
No,
they'll figure it out.
Now, here's what's at the same time so frustrating about Tampa Bay and how well this team is run. So let's look at the core. Okay. Andrei Vasilevsky is locked up until the end of 2028.
Yeah.
Victor Hedman is locked up for 4 more years. McDonough, who if they capped, because there's been some word about maybe they trade him, still has some term at $6.7 million. Sergachev, 2 more years, 4.8. Cernak, who they could very lose to the expansion draft, 2.9. So even if you take away Cernak, their left side is still intact, okay? They will lose like Savard, but obviously we knew that was going to happen. So let's look at their forward 4 group, right? Their forward core group. Kucherov is only 28 years old and has 5 more years at $9.5 million. Steven Stamkos, who it feels like is getting traded. Because remember, now Adam Wild, so Adam Wild on the STP kind of threw this out there, and everyone's probably thinking he's crazy. However, if you guys remember last summer, there was word that if Steven Stamkos was going to waive his no-move clause, he was going to go to Vegas. Perhaps. I don't think the move for Vegas now would be, I think that's more a Eichel move.
Yep.
But, I mean, are there worse kind of players to pick up if you're Seattle than Stevens? Like, the marketability of Steven Stamkos is and only $8.5 million. Get out of here.
Can I just say, you said Jack Eichel to Vegas, I've nonstop heard that.
I've been on that since the trade deadline. Trade deadline, I've been on that.
I have nonstop heard about Vegas going after Jack Eichel. I'm just saying it started here.
Exactly. And And
Adam,
by
we
the
need
way,
one of your mock drafts, like those 4-way team drafts.
we'll work on it. Give me a name and we can have that for next
Okay.
episode. And sorry,
Okay.
and just quickly, we
Yeah.
we still have some more core players with some term, by the way.
It's not over.
Braden Point has 1 more year left at $6.7 million. Palat, another year. 4 more years for Yanni Gord. God damn it. 3 more years of Tyler Johnson, but he's probably going to be gone. Sorelli, $4.8 million. And Killorn, who could be moved, but still is $4.4 million. Patrick Maroon has another year at $900,000. And then you have some younger guys in there. It's amazing that they are in this good position. However, Tampa are without a doubt taking a step back next year to still a cup contender, but not an abysmal sort of this is just not fair, because they are losing whoever is their backup. I don't know if it's Christopher Gibson. I've never heard of that man before.
Leafs legend.
I think
Or
it
if
was
it's-
McElhaney.
Or if it's Curtis McElhaney.
Also
I
Leafs
swear
legend.
there was another goaltender I saw one of their lineup cards.
Oh, Spencer Martin?
Their right
Spencer-
side's gonna take a hit though. Like
Yes. And
in
that
this
is-
order of Luke Shant,
Yep.
David Savard, and then I mean Calfoot's gonna be an RFA, but
Like I will never forget that the deepest team at the moment in the cap era had David Savard at 30 years old on their third pairing.
for $1 million.
Come on.
The other players that they're probably going to lose is Barclay Goodrow.
Yep.
And oh man, I'll tell you guys, someone is going to overpay Blake Coleman so much
5.5.
money.
Do you think he gets Zach Hyman money?
After that playoffs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He'll be worth it, but it's going to be bad eventually.
Edmonton's going to overpay Anderson, Hyman, and Blake Coleman all in the same summer.
And Phil Deneau.
And Phil Deneau,
Yes.
even though they don't really need a center, but that's fine.
No, I saw an article that was like, do the Oilers need a third line center to help move the needle? And it was like,
Excuse me?
I think they just need depth.
Yeah,
They gave up on Kyle Turris.
yeah.
Man, I
That's
remember
kind of
being
over.
like, good move, Edmonton. Good move. But I mean, I think the big thing you kind of see there is, and I think the biggest detriment to Tampa is they're losing that third line. That was the difference maker, especially against the Habs, was that third line. It was incredible. They're gonna obviously they have young guys, like they're gonna fill in, like because you hate Tampa because they're just like that. But there is a step back coming there.
Okay, let's do an exercise here. Can you scroll down to their non-roster forwards?
They're non-roster forwards.
Okay,
Okay,
so we're all gonna pick a guy who's gonna break out next year. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Does anyone want to go first?
I'm taking Cole Koepke.
Okay.
Cole Koepke. I don't know who that is, but he'll run the Calder next year.
Daniel.
I will take Boris Kachuk,
That's a
World
good
Junior
pick.
legend.
That's a good pick. That's a
Heard of
good
that
pick.
guy, yeah.
I'm gonna go with Jimmy Huntington.
Jimmy Hunting. I saw that name and thought that's not a bad name.
Yeah, it's like what's that guy? Gianni Fairbrother.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that
Well,
name.
let's put him in the dock, and it's like, oh, and here, okay, guys, what do you think of Giovanni Fairbrother? Daniel, he's got a cool name, and that's all. He just tanks the segment.
It's like I'm very sure Daniel put that in there.
By the way, Taylor Radish is another guy.
Yes.
I'm pretty
of
sure.
course.
I'm pretty sure I went to high school with him.
No way.
Pretty sure he went to Mayfield Secondary School. Scotty was a really good. No, Taylor Radish.
No,
Taylor
Scott
Radish.
Mayfield High School.
No, not Scott Mayfield. Not Scott
Okay.
Mayfield. Shout out to the high school that had a vice principal do blackface in my first year. He did get fired, by the way.
Okay.
He did get fired. It was not great. It was not great. The worst part is it was kind of normal back then. Yeah, not great. You know who else needs a new contract? That's going to be a bit of a concern, and I wonder if he's going to be upset because he was sat in the last 2 games of the Cup final.
Yes.
You know,
let's
over
please talk about him.
Eric Stahl. Jesperi Kotkaniemi. See,
Yeah.
if you're Jesperi Kotkaniemi, you've seen in the past few months your best friend got traded in Victor Mete. You didn't start the playoffs. God damn it! I'm not over that. The moment Dom Ducharme got back and behind the bench after Luke Richardson and all that. Slashed his ice time, took him off the power play, and then in favor of keeping the washing machine line as well as the regular season fourth line of Evans, Lehkonen, and Byron together, sat Jesperi Kotkaniemi.
Yeah.
It's just, you remember that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think Jesperi Kotkaniemi is the same as Alex Galchenyuk. It's just, you see this like overseas third overall centerman that the Habs have needed who has all this talent. Like Jesperi Kotkaniemi actually has a great defensive game. It's just, I can't help but think, just don't do this again.
Yeah, the biggest difference is Jesperi Kotkaniemi can play center, and like he doesn't seem to be an issue outside of the ice.
But Alex scored 30 goals.
Oh my god, yeah, that one time. And what has he done since?
He won the confidence of Kyle Dubas.
What's funny is Alex Galchenyuk technically started that entire run for Montreal because it was his turnover in game 5, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, in game 5 started everything.
Wait, what was the Dermott Spinorama? That was game 6, right?
That was a game. I was at that, and Jesperi Kotkaniemi had the game winner.
Yeah. Speaking of,
Again,
I just remember everyone in game 7, everyone's heart attack when he did it again. The Spinorama.
Yeah. Jet, by the way, like I'm pretty sure, like it's obviously going to be a bridge type deal for like so many reasons. He wants to, like, he's not going to get his max value. You know, the cap sucks right now, but I wouldn't be surprised for some reason if Jesperi Kotkaniemi. I have obviously no reporting to support this, and I haven't read anything that's like that. And obviously, the wound is going to be extremely fresh for everyone. But I just have this feeling that he's either going to be a holdout or he's going to get traded. Like Ducharme obviously doesn't trash him in that, but it's just, I just have this really bad feeling. And I'm obviously not saying they should have traded him for Pierre-Luc Dubois, because I don't want guys who quit mid-game on his team on the squad I cheer for, but I don't know about Jesperi. And you know what, by the way, Thomas Tatar, like side note, like, yeah, he's like definitely great time as a Hab. Yeah. But just like I saw people saying he should have been in the finals, and I get that. But he just saw how many teams need to sit Thomas Tatar deep in the playoffs for people to get that he's just not good in the playoffs.
I know, this is the second time this has happened.
Here's my reasoning as to why he should have been in the finals is when if I did the math correctly, in 5 games, 8 goals. And like I get he's not great defensively, but the line of was the line of Tatar, Deneau, Gallagher not an extremely good line?
It was until this year because Phil Deneau had because it was terrible timing because it was him and Tatar.
Okay.
Deneau and Tatar were obviously awful the first half of the season. Mm-hmm. And then the problem is the moment they took out Tatar is when they started winning. And then it was, yeah, man.
Like for me, I would have thrown whatever I could. I don't know if Thomas Tatar would have worked, like how much of a game changer that would have been, but I would have at least tried it.
I thought of something funny. Yeah. Because you know that thing where people do when they say something to like there's too many questions going on for like a player or a certain thing, that they start asking the questions that it eventually doesn't make any sense. Like when you think about Thomas Tatar in the lineup, and it's like, what is Thomas Tatar? Who is Thomas Tatar, and why is Thomas Tatar?
Gentlemen, let's open the window to the past. Niki Lauda said, you put a monkey in the car and he will drive it. And then Sebastian Vettel said, I start my car like a computer. For those of you who don't know, that's like the biggest meme question in like F1 history. It's hilarious. It's honestly, that question you have to do into 3 different tweets because it goes insane. Yeah. The best part is Vettel. Can you repeat that? What a great guy. What a great guy. Anything else you guys want to talk about the finals and just it sucks. That's all I guess. It just sucks. I'm sad.
Yeah, I think, and I'll be the optimist here again.
Kucherov, yeah.
We didn't talk about Kucherov yet. Yeah. But I think for Montreal that this is something you could still build on. I don't think they were a one and done team. Of course, yeah, this was a magical run, but don't stop there. Don't, like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna look back on the Mighty Ducks run where their biggest mistake was, okay, I mean, the biggest mistake was they lost Paul Correa. You can't really recover from that, but at the same time, they didn't do anything afterwards. Like, I mean, like, they signed like an aging Sergei Fedorov to help with the offense, but I think Montreal's in a lot of they're in a better state than the Ducks were the year after, where they have the opportunity to build on this. They have budding, developing players like Nick Suzuki, Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Carey Price is still amazing. The defense still held up despite the injuries. They just have to get better with scoring, and I think they could make another run.
Daniel, you are the optimist of this podcast.
Hey, I hope they can do it. I'm confident. Good team. Fun. By the way, why is it if you go on Twitter and if this is something I've noticed very frequently. It happens with every fan base naturally, but the thing when there is a mecca with Leafs Twitter is if a Habs fan will tweet something about how proud they are of the Habs.
Yeah.
I'm not saying do a parade for coming in second. That's the stupidest tweet I've ever seen. Is a Habs fan be like, I'm proud of this team, and then someone will take the piss out of the regular season and the Habs being a fraud. Yeah. If you then go back to that Leafs fan who comes after you and you say, win a round, you loser, and then it becomes, well, who said anything about the Leafs? When it's just, it feels like there is this shield that they have. It's like, oh, well, you're making about, no, because you came after me first. It's like,
to be fair, that is every fan base. Right.
I know, but it's just the meme of make it about the Leafs. Well, you make it about your team if you try and pop in. Like, I'm sorry that we lost in the Cup final and that you were down along the way. But, like, Jets fans aren't doing it. Vegas fans are because they're not real fans, but I said it. Gary Bettman's the only Vegas Golden Knights fan in existence.
And Daniel Negreanu.
And Chris Lee.
And
Daniel Rourke.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
They say Mickey Rourke.
No, Dan O'Rourke.
Okay,
last thing on Tampa, actually, I forgot to mention. Nikita Kucherov.
Yeah.
welcome
Clearly
in Quebec.
He is not welcome in Quebec. No, he is not. So Nikita Kucherov, after the game, does his press conference. He's shirtless. Yeah. He's clearly had some beverages, which was instantly a sign of, oh no, what's about to happen here. Fun fact, Dan Milstein, his agent, put a picture of him in the cup, and he says he sends warm regards to Montreal. Kind regards, I think it was actually. Okay, listen. So Kucherov says a bunch of things. First off, he says that Vasilevsky should have won the Vezina. He's like, first off, he said a guy won it last year. He forgot it was Connor Hellebuck because he was drunk. Said that they gave it to the guy in Vegas because he forgot who Marc-Andre Fleury was. Said he'd win it every year, but he's in a bad market, ignoring the fact that Vasilevsky has a Vezina trophy, by the way.
He should win it every year.
I'm not making fun of the fact that Kucherov spoke his mind because we have been so heavy on players showing their personality.
Yeah.
But what I have an issue with is when he says, and I'm paraphrasing here, Habs fans acting like they won the cup after Game 4. And saying that the third round against Vegas was their cup final. So,
I think that was talking.
I've heard that before. In 2014, that's what people said about the Rangers didn't deserve to be in the finals.
Well, because the Rangers didn't.
They didn't.
They did not.
They did not. They did not.
What do you want? They didn't deserve to.
Yeah, but they're like the real finals were the Kings and Blackhawks.
Well, I mean, that was a special time when it was like it was whoever won the West won the cup.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Solid 8 years.
Where the three California teams were incredible, except San Jose just couldn't do it. And then like Arizona would win a conference final here and there.
Yeah, so, I forgot Detroit was in the Western Conference 2008.
Here's the issue I have, right? With Kucherov. And, like, listen, if you dish it, you then have to – and it's not like Nikita Kucherov cares what I have to say. He might never know who I am. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So,
don't say that. He's going to meet you eventually.
But it's like I'm not criticizing him for speaking. Right. It's just that, I'm going to defend the city I freaking live in and the team I support. Here's the thing. It kind of sounded like he was saying that the Habs fans are a joke because they cheered for the first cup final game win in like 20 plus years. I'm like, what's really funny is there's a reporter in I forget exactly which I can't remember her last name and which publications with. Her name is Chantal, French reporter. She's great. And she was at outside Amalie Arena after Tampa had won the game. And she's taking a video. It's completely empty. And by the way, the hurricane never hit Tampa.
Really?
Or if it did, it was very minor. Like the weather was fine. Like Sean McKenzie was outside the arena. It wasn't super sunny, but it was more like an average summer day in like Southern Ontario, I'd say. It was completely fine. There was no one around. There was no one. Absolutely. When like Montreal have these wicked watch parties. I just don't get Nikita Kucherov being like, hey there, I'm going to rip a fan base because they celebrate. Like, man, like say what you want. It's just like back off a bit. Like, sorry if the 3,500 crowd is louder than the full capacity of Amalie Arena.
Here's the way I looked at it. I agree with what you're saying. Because someone Jack Todd tweeted, and then someone said, Todd. I kind of feel sorry for the guy. He'll never know what it's like to this is a reply, sorry. I kind of feel sorry for the guy. He will never know what it's like to have a fan base that cares about hockey and their hockey team like Montreal, and in brackets you put or Toronto. I don't know if he's a Toronto fan or whatever. He just won back-to-back cups, and $8.5 million was deposited into his bank account last week. He does not give a crap.
Of course not.
He's like, okay, what am I spending that $8.5 million on? Dan Milstein, here's your cut. And that was it. Yeah. No, but I get your point. I mean, it's fair. It's just,
I don't hate Kucherov speaking anything a Hab would have said afterwards. I'd be like, okay, it's just, leave my city alone. As a Montrealer, I'm like, okay. And here's the thing. Any Hab who is having a bad stretch next season and there's a game against Tampa Bay, especially the first game Tampa will be in Montreal, if you're going after Kucherov, you're forgiven. You are forgiven. A 20-game goalless drought for Toffoli or Anderson because he goes 20 games without scoring and he has like a hat trick because Anderson's jokes. If he goes after him, like whoever goes after Nikita Kucherov next year is instantly a fan favorite again. And I can't wait for it because you have to defend the city. You have to do it.
Where are we predicting this?
See, you know what I would do if I'm scheduling and I knew if I had any sort of say in the entertainment, is what you do is Tampa's the first game of the regular season. And you do this, you start everyone else like the day after because we're back to an even number of teams. The first game of the regular season has to be in Tampa Bay and it has to be Montreal in the arena. I'm a firm believer of having the team that lost have to see the banner go up. And then you have this wicked just revenge game going on. And that's how you open the season. Or if we're going back to this, the regular season of 82 games, which sucks. But if we can have this series thing again, if you open the season next year with a series of Montreal, Tampa Bay, that is must-watch television. And if that does not kick the Habs up the butt to start the season next year, back in the Atlantic Division, I don't know what will.
I like that idea because the NBA does that all the time, but it's for their Christmas games.
I hate that they play in Christmas, by the way.
Yeah, but other than that, the matchups is always the teams from the previous final always go up against each other, and it's always really exciting. So it is a different degree, but it's something where there's that similarity there, and I can kind of see it. And in terms of my prediction, I say I don't know. The obvious answer is Brendan Gallagher going after him, but I'll say Nick Suzuki.
I think it's Josh Anderson.
Yeah.
Hold on. While I just need to do something quickly. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you guys this question, okay?
Go ahead.
Discuss. Steven Stamkos, will he or will he not be a Tampa Bay Lightning next year? I'll be back in a second.
I'll go first, I guess, if you don't mind, Daniel.
Yeah, no problem.
I think he will be a Tampa Bay Lightning next year. I think it's not talked about enough of the influence he has in that room. He is captain for a reason. Yes, he makes $8.5 million towards the cap. And let's say you do trade Steven Stamkos. Let's remember they are $4.5 million over the cap. So they get $3.5 million Like I think it's a last ditch effort to relieve themselves of the cap issues. I also have my theory that Victor Hedman is going on LTIR, but that's for a different day. But I just don't see the reason to trade Steven Stamkos. Like, I do think he has a presence beyond the off the ice as well, and I don't think it's not like Jumbo Joe where you're bringing him in strictly for the off ice stuff. Like, he had 34 points in 38 games this year.
Mm-hmm.
And was he not injured? He was injured for a good portion of the season, right?
He always is.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is so unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I don't know, because there's precedence here, because the Lightning did buy out Vincent Lecavalier after like an okay season. But I guess that's a different instance because of the amount of years he still had on it. But I don't see them doing that with Stamkos, because I think it's a different time. When they bought out Lecavalier, they were still figuring out a lot of things. They were still trying to build on Stamkos and Hedman. But I think the way Stamkos has been is, I agree with you with what he's had in terms of an influence with the locker room and the leadership group there. But at the same time, I think he's still producing. He's still okay. And he's really transitioned into the fact that he knows he's not the best player on the team anymore, but he still takes it like a champ. Like, he does what he needs to do. Like, it is weird because I remember those 50 goal seasons, but even now, like, it still fits so well with what the Lightning are still trying to, even if they're going to take losses, what they're still going to try to do with this core.
I'm surprised you didn't say he's going to go with Dougie Hamilton to Colorado, because they are still going all in. Colorado, fun team, eh? Fun team to watch.
On Jack Eichel?
Colorado?
Or is that Seth Jones they're in on? Oh, Seth Jones.
Seth Jones.
Mike, how on earth
they're going to pull Kawhi with Seth Jones, though. Just the 1 year.
Probably.
As long as they don't give up Sam Girard, because people were saying that could be the price tag, and you're like, no. Do not do that.
Okay, a couple first. Connor Timmins.
Eric Johnson.
We'll figure it out.
If it was Timmins, I was like, okay. It's not any of the current big guys. Like, get out of here. No. And sign Makar first. Jesus.
Yeah, let's do
it. What do you
add Patrick Nemeth?
And no, not Patrick. How dare you say Patrick Nemeth before Gabriel Landeskog? Shame on you.
Gabriel Landeskog.
Yeah.
Pretty important player.
No, I want McKinnon to be the captain.
They're in. Well, we all do. Best player. No, he's not the best player in the world. I can't do that anymore. Nate Schmidt. I had a transition there, but I forgot it, and I've just said Nate Schmidt. How about this? Colorado are going to have a busy offseason. An interesting one, a headline-filled one, kind of like the Vancouver Canucks, because it seems to be that Nate Schmidt is on his way out of Vancouver. Acquiring him last offseason was probably the sole bright spot of Vancouver's summer after everyone left. The fit, hasn't really been there. Elliot Friedman saying that he doesn't think there's been an official trade request. However, both sides seem to realize it's time to move on. And Nick Kyprios believes that the Canucks will try to send Nate Schmidt to Arizona in a potential Oliver Ekman-Larson trade. This adding to the list, honestly, guys, of we could have a lot of blockbusters this year. However,
remember Blockbuster?
Let's take a step back.
And think about Blockbuster, the rental movie store.
So it's just that if you're the Canucks, and I was texting Alex about this, so let's say you nail the Hughes and Pedersen contract extensions. Let's say they're 3 years each because comparables. 7.5 around there for each as well. Let's say you get that done, right?
Yeah.
Not to mention they're the same agent, so you could see the deals being very similar. You do some buyouts, whether it's Barchi, whether it's Eriksson, or any of those guys, right? And by the way, the buyout window, the first one opens tomorrow, I believe.
11 tonight.
11 tonight. Okay, yeah. So by the way, after today's show, the dominoes could start falling this offseason. Anyway.
Imagine being bought out like at 3 a.m.
Worse things have happened, I'm sure, to players. So imagine that the Canucks can do all of that. They buy out some players to get some cap relief, only to spend it all on Oliver Ekman-Larson.
That's such a Vancouver move.
I'm not comparing these two players, but this is reeking of when Edmonton signed Connor McDavid for less because they were going to give him more, and then they go spend it on some of it on Milan Lucic.
Oh yeah, and that's why they traded Taylor Hall, because they're like, we're gonna get another left winger back anyways.
Not the same, not exactly the same, but it kind of reeks of that.
I don't think you're wrong. It's one of those moves where like Vancouver just can't stop getting in their own way here. Like, is this the big move where it's like we're gonna try and win? We're going back to the Oliver Ekman-Larsson well. Again.
And I understand why. Like, he had a bad season, and you can't just blame the team on that.
He's had a bad couple of seasons now.
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing. If you can get some of the cap off, Oliver Ekman-Larsson could really come over. And I don't know exactly who his partner would be because you're not putting him and Hughes together. That's just not smart to do.
Ollie Levy.
Tyler Myers.
Yeah, I guess like him and Myers, I guess, could be a decent. Like, he'll be good. Like, he's still a top 4 defenseman. We know this. It's just at 8.2 or around. It's around $8 million. No, thank you. No, thank you. Especially you have too many contracts to do for this window. Oliver Ekman-Larsson is going to be an anchor there.
Like, I'd be more comfortable if I'm a Vancouver fan. I don't know what Dougie Hamilton's price tag is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be near near OEL's. I have to imagine it's going to be somewhere near it.
Yeah.
But I'd be more comfortable with them spending that cap on Dougie Hamilton than trading Nate Schmidt away and then going out and having to spend more assets on acquiring OEL. Because yes, his value may not be as high as what it was before he signed that contract, but it's not negative value. Like, they're going to have to give something up. And I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable. I wouldn't be comfortable giving up a first round pick knowing that the rest of the team is kind of like dry.
Yeah, I agree with that. This is not the time. Well, we said it before so many times. This is not the time for Vancouver to do something, but they still did something, but it wasn't the right thing.
What if you're Vancouver and you're like, I'm taking on a lot of money here, and maybe you obviously send some money the other way with Schmidt and try and work it out. Maybe some low salary guys because the Yotes can take that back. Mm-hmm. And, maybe to kind of help sweeten taking Oliver Ekman-Larsson off your hands because they don't want to pay that money. They don't want to pay any of that kind of stuff. Maybe the Coyotes sweeten the pot with a certain Connor Garland. Or Phil Kessel. One of the two.
Oh. I could see Phil Kessel. Like, that's just the most Vancouver move ever. I'm still on board for Kessel back to Toronto. I'm just saying. But
reuniting him with Tanner Pearson in Vancouver.
Not? Yeah, man.
Let's do it. Like, don't you think that they're like, if you trade for OEL and let's say you sign those guys at $7.5 million each, and it probably could be more at that. That's about $15 million. So you're going to have to match OEL's salary to get and then you have to still sign depth pieces. Like, that's why even bringing in Dougie Hamilton doesn't make sense. But if you're going after a defenseman, I'm more okay with Dougie Hamilton than I would be with OEL because you're not giving up any assets. Mm-hmm. Maybe a fourth if it's a sign and trade. You know what I mean?
Lads, next up on the list, we're going to look at here. So by the way, this is from Amanda Stein. Important dates with the 2020-2021 NHL season complete. Busy couple of days. July 9th, first buyout period begins at 11 p.m. today because, she's a liar. Just kidding. The 17th is the protection list deadline. The 21st is the expansion draft. The 23rd is the first day of the draft. The 24th is rounds 2 through 7. The 28th is free agency. So it is going to be a busy couple of weeks around the NHL. First and foremost, though, we should talk about some more off-ice stuff. So before Game 4 in Montreal, Ron McLean had an interview with Gary Bettman. When I was younger, I loved when these two had interviews because I just thought it was Ron just kind of poking Gary for answers. This interview was a bit like, oh God, this feels kind of childish at some points. Except for when it finishes and you realize that Ron McLean didn't poke about the Chicago situation at all. This garnered a lot of heat online. Now, Ron McLean came out with a quote. I saw The Athletic put this out. Quote, "There were no topics off limits. I made the decision in the moment to not ask the question, in brackets, about the Chicago allegations." There were pokes about officiating, about player safety, the Olympics, which we'll get to in a second here. But what did you guys make of the interview, besides the Ron saying a date and Gary just like a child kind of saying, well, no, actually, it's this time away. I don't know about you guys. It felt like a bit of a juvenile interview to me.
I wasn't entirely sure what was going on there.
Yeah.
Just though from the article, it was from Sean Fitzgerald's article from The Athletic. I really think that the way that quote is written, there were no topics off limits. I made the decision in the moment to not ask the question. Sounds to me like there was a discussion had about asking this question.
Yeah.
And then the decision was made, we're not going to ask the question. And for me, it's like, how do you not ask the question? Like, what's the thought process on not asking a question about it? Like, I said it when we had the discussion, like, this is a topic that should be on like CBC or I don't know, like this is news, like this is beyond sports. I don't see how you don't ask that. Like, I'm sorry, I get it's the Stanley Cup final, but like, that's not a good enough excuse. I don't really think there is a good enough excuse in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of agreed. The interview, the way it went, it sounded like a very PR piece in a way where when it came to even, navigating through even the referee controversies, it just felt like there were softballs there that like they weren't really something where it's like, I'm going to get into the heart of this. It was more of like, hey, we got the commissioner here and let's do something about that. And I think Ron McLean's kind of decision not to talk about the Chicago thing, where I really think he should have, because that's a big thing where someone who literally is the commissioner, you want on national television to address it in a certain way. I don't know what the answer would be, but it's definitely something where it is in the public interest. It is something that this is affecting the game, like in a way, like, and I'm not saying this is correct, but I kind of felt that it's another hockey culture kind of thing where let's just kind of keep things as they are, what we're used to. Let's just focus on the game, and these other issues, let's go over it later on. Let's try to add a degree of separation between the two.
I find it interesting, the stuff that Ron tends to focus on. It feels like whenever he talks to Bettman, it feels like there's always talk about the reffing. Like every time they have an interview together, it happens. There was a line when Ron McLean said, "I find it difficult to defend the refs," and like kind of laughed because I'm like, I don't know about you, but it feels like I was watching a different broadcast at times, because he does not criticize or defend. He tries to defend them. He says it's a hard job, but the big thing in journalism is you always give both sides, and it feels like Sportsnet do not often. They are afraid to take the negative route with a lot of stuff to me. On the 31 Thoughts podcast that came out today, Friedman said that he looks at some ESPN stuff and thinks maybe we need to do more of that. And I just think, there was a lost opportunity to talk to Gary. Ron McLean, I think, needs to realize sometimes that that he's almost the voice of Canada when he talks to Gary. Right. No one else is going to have, if it is the Cup final, here in Canada's, our first appearance here since 2011, I felt like Ron had a responsibility to press Gary on a number of different topics, and he didn't. And I was disappointed with that, I'll say. Also, it's very frustrating on the side of the NHL that we're already getting signs that we're probably not going to the Olympics. Gary talked about just sort of there was insurance stuff, travel expense, stuff we've heard before. And it's going to be very disappointing if we don't go to the Olympics again. It's going to be a missed opportunity again. And it's not – Gary Bettman is so heavily focused on growing the game in the U.S., he misses the greater picture of, Gary, there's a whole world out there and you're missing that market.
Go look at. Sorry, go ahead. Dan.
Oh no, I was just gonna mention, sorry, Alex, that like if it's gonna be like Pyeongchang again, where man 2018, like I didn't care for the All-Star game. Like I know
one
that's
cares
I
about
know
the
that's the thing.
All-Star
That's the
game.
thing.
No
It's
one
like
cares.
that's one thing where they mentioned like, oh, we're gonna miss out on the revenue we have of the All-Star game or the recognition that players are gonna get. But again, yeah, the bigger picture of this is you want to grow the game. And I remember Don Cherry talked about it. I'm sorry if I'm mentioning him here, but it's just one thing that he talked about with the Olympics. And I know the Athletic kind of talked about it as well, where Don Cherry's like, no one's gonna care watching these games that are happening like somewhere far away. But like that's the thing. It's not just Canadian viewers you're worried about during the Olympics. Like I'm gonna admit, like, and people are still gonna watch it. I think like okay, from a personal experience, I still watched in Sochi, even though you had to wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning. Everyone watched those games. And when you like kind of think about like you need the NHL players to go to Asia.
Yeah, they missed the last Olympics. Oh, well, I guess, and then who knows what's going to happen with the summer ones this year because Japan's in a state of emergency, but we might have it. I mean, I love the Olympics as a spectacle. I think everyone does, and to not see the sport that I love so much at it with its best players available. At the same time, I feel for the players because legacies are built at the Olympics. No one will forget the golden goal ever. And it's a shame that McDavid has already missed and will, again, looks to miss another chance at sort of being in that platform. Also, go ahead, Ak, go ahead.
No,
There's something to go back to about Gary in a second.
Okay. No, just with like the Olympics are some of the most watched events in the world. In the world, man. Like okay, maybe not hockey specifically, but if you like to watch the Olympics, just in general, you're probably going to watch hockey. And it would be in the benefit of the NHL if you really want to grow the game. And you mentioned it before. He's so focused on growing the game in the US that he's forgotten about the other countries. Look at what the NBA is doing in growing in Asia. Look at what the NFL is doing. They're playing games in England. What's the NHL doing? Playing games in countries that already have like hockey leagues that are some of the best in the world, like Sweden and Russia. Like the anomaly there was Germany, right? I think they played a couple games in Germany and sending Leon Draisaitl, they're smart. But if you want to grow the game, I truly believe sending your players to the Olympics is one of the best ways to do that. And based on the what he said with that in that interview, and even at the Stanley Cup, the before Game 1 press conference, like Will tweeted it. You're throwing the Players Association under the bus here. You agreed. You said you were more than happy to do this before, right? Like in the CBA, it seemed like, okay, we'll get the ball rolling on this. And now the same issues are coming up. So which one is it? Like make a decision here.
Carrot on the end of the stick, man. Carrot on the end of the stick. I just, man, popular commissioner, my friend. Something else that was very interesting about that interview, and again, Bettman choosing his words carefully when asked about officiating. This is a team sport, he said, which basically means, and will confirm, stars are not getting special treatment. So Connor McDavid, the best player, the guy who should be the face of your league, is going to get. It's not even like, because first off, it's a lie that the fact of like it's like this is a fairly even playing field where no one gets the exception. It's not even that. It is the stars get punished for being stars. You know what I mean? Like there is, okay, if you don't want to call something that they can get away with, like LeBron traveling, okay, but then there is blatantly getting interfered with by 3 different players and hooked and slashed like Connor McDavid, and it's like, what are we doing here?
It makes no sense. And I'm sorry, I think these refs are the worst in the world.
Every time Will tells me that the NBA have worse refs, I'm just like, how?
I don't think so.
Not real. Like, like watching the World Cup. Go England on Sunday, by the way, Alex.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but Italy can just take a hike.
That's fair.
It's nice to know that, by the way, everyone in Canada seems to hate England, which is kind of funny. Anyway, if my home country lose the same week as the Habs, I don't know what I'm going to where the joy in my life is going to come from anymore.
Lego.
But
Lego.
I do love Lego. I am
can
seeing my
send him
dog
the
this
Bat-
weekend.
can
So.
send him
Yeah,
the
send the
Batmobile.
Batmobile. Is it done?
It will be by my future self.
Okay. Well, we should speed up here because we've been going for a while and we still have some stuff to talk about. Vladimir Tarasenko. He's a pretty good player. It's really funny that he's on the second last year of his 8-year deal already. I remember when he signed that. It was a big deal. He was really 40 goal scorer, Vlad Tarasenko. He's had a bad couple of years, some bad shoulder injuries, and apparently the root of this trade request is Vladimir Tarasenko isn't happy with the way, and this is from Jeremy Rutherford of The Athletic, great guy. We don't know him, but we know he's a great guy. Great writer. Seems to say that Tarasenko isn't happy with the way that the Blues handled Vlad Tarasenko's shoulder stuff. I'm not going to go into the details because go read the article, people.
Yeah.
Great stuff. But there is also a bit of mutual agreement that Tarasenko's play hasn't been great because he's been injured, and it's kind of time to part ways. This is a guy when healthy is apparently also they've changed his position on the power play to go to the net front when Vladimir Tarasenko is a one-timing deity. I told you guys this before. When I first got into hockey and I started liking players other than the Habs, the first few were Erik Karlsson and Vlad Tarasenko. So
Right.
I wonder, there were two things here. First off, what does this mean for the future of the Blues that they lose their captain last offseason and then they lose Vlad Tarasenko this year? Apparently, by the way, there is also some resentment in the fact that Tarasenko was not named captain and instead they went with Ryan O'Reilly. You have your thoughts on that. That is pretty scummy that they gave it to a guy who just got there. But to each his own. So first off, I'll ask Alex this question, and Daniel, I'm going to ask you a different question in a second here. Alex, where do you see Tarasenko potentially landing? $7.5 million cap hit. Maybe a bit of a risk, but you know he's got lots of talent and a wicked shot. And good hands, too.
So I just have this theory. My first thought was Anaheim, like just because he kind of fits. How old is Tarasenko? Let me just double check here. He's 20.
Deal.
He's 29, but it's a hockey deal. He's just outside of the range that Bob Murray likes. I think Bob Murray was
I hope he
23 to
changes
20,
that.
23 to 28. But I really think it's more whoever doesn't get Jack Eichel can get Vladimir Tarasenko.
You know what? It's really funny that you mentioned Anaheim because they need more scoring.
Yeah.
And they want a hockey deal, which is that's a very good connection.
Them are the Kings. Sorry. Them are the Kings.
I think if they didn't get Echo, maybe, but I feel like that, man, Tarasenko would look good in that jersey. And Daniel, I will ask you this question because you were right about the Blues before, Daniel, Alex and I will admit it. What does this mean for the Blues going forward?
I think that, it was just rumblings I've mentioned where like the way they were playing, the way that the depth was going, that this was not sustainable, that they had that Stanley Cup high and then they didn't really do much afterwards for it. Like, I still don't understand the Justin Falk trade. Like, I still
No one
don't
does.
get it. And I think that was one of like the biggest cracks I think they had on it because it kind of disillusioned your captain. That's one thing for sure. And I think, again, like that's destabilized a lot of it, the leadership group. Ryan O'Reilly, and I don't know the guy personally, but I don't think he has the same sway as Alex Pietrangelo, especially for that team, for a guy that was drafted by them, that grew with them in the organization. And I think now with Tarasenko is like, again, I've mentioned him on the podcast before, but this is the same thing unfolding like Kawhi Leonard.
Yes.
Where they didn't handle the injury properly, and then he wants out in his final year. And I don't know what the Blues are going to do because now you're looking at another core guy that you developed, that you drafted, that wants to leave. That you're going to leave yourself with, like your core forwards now are going to be guys that you got via trades, that you got guys that they haven't been there forever. And I think that I don't know. I don't know what the Blues are going to be. I think that they're going to become a team like Nashville territory where there's going to have these big contracts, but they're going to have these guys that underperform because when we looked at what happened to them in the last season or what happened to them in the playoffs, like who did we mention was their top scorer despite all those big contracts? It was David Perron.
Right.
Yeah, that one keeps surprising me. One issue that might plague this deal is Tarasenko. He's making money, aka he's making actual cash, and there's a lot of it next season apparently.
Oof. The thing, just to build off Daniel's point real quick, like with what they are, I think their decor is set up in a decent way. It's just that their forwards, it's like, what are we doing? Like you got Falk, Krug, Parayko, Scandella, and Vince Dunn. I don't know if Vince Dunn's going to be there. He really should, but their choice. And then it's O'Reilly, Shen, Perron, Sammy Blais, Kyle Clifford, and Vlad Tarasenko, and Mackenzie McCurkin. If I said that right. Those are the guys that are signed right now. Mm-hmm. And you have Barbashev, Sanford, Kyrou, and Thomas, who are RFAs. And then Hoffman, Bozak, and Jaden Schwartz, who are UFAs.
I don't like it, man. I don't like it. All right, to wrap up here, we got 3 more points. Okay, so here's the plan. I will ask Alex about Dermott. I will ask Daniel about Eklund, and then for Drieger, we're going to do something a little fun. So first off, Alex, the Leafs have signed Travis Dermott. It's a 2-year deal. It's worth $3 million. The AAV is a $1.5 million contract. It is basically comparable to a lot of defensemen around his age. Think Fleury, think those kind of guys. And to you, I wonder, I wonder if Toronto signed this deal kind of having in mind that, okay, it is Kerfoot getting claimed here.
I think they signed this deal, and I'm looking at the math here because we're math experts.
6 plus 6 is 12.
To do the 4 and 4, you need to have one defenseman exposed beyond. They need to be extended, right?
Okay.
So they don't. Bogosian's not, Hutton's not, and Calle Rosen is not. So it's just Travis Dermott. Which now that he's extended, it makes him the exposure requirement. I think this leans more towards the idea that they're going to do 4 and 4. I think it was rather than protecting Alex Kerfoot, which is unfortunate. Like Alex Kerfoot will probably get claimed, and he was also the second best player for the Leafs in their one series again. So it's going to be a guy they have to replace, and we'll see how they do it. But I guess it does open up $3.5 million of cap and allows them to keep Travis Dermott. Like, I just really think the 4 and 4 is the way that this team goes.
So, and in that way, if it's the 4th defenseman, then Dermott needs to be exposed.
Or Hull, but I just can't see them.
That's what I would think. If you're doing the 4 and 4, then that's like, okay, good. We keep Justin Hull, because if I was Seattle, I'd be like, I want Justin Hull because of that cap it. It's sexy stuff. Daniel, some draft stuff. Owen Power, we know, is leaning towards going back to Michigan because he wants to go back to school instead of playing the NHL.
He's going to pull Adam Fox calling it now. No, I'm not. He won't.
Because he's like, my first year university was online. I want to go back instead of getting millions of dollars in the NHL. Oh, no. What am I doing? No. So apparently William Eklund, who is another very highly skilled prospect who – okay, I just want to tell people listening, if you look at the projected list for the draft this year, look at it, understand it, but read 3 more, because they're all going to be different. I've seen some people say this guy is the number 1 skater coming out of Europe. I've seen some people have him first overall. But he's another prospect at the top of the list here, joining Owen Power, that he has confirmed, Eklund, he's going back to the SHL.
Yeah.
Man, Daniel, no one wants to play in Buffalo, do they?
I don't know. Well, for one thing, I'd like to say congrats to William Eklund. He has won the E.J. McGuire Award of Excellence.
What is that?
For a prospect from Sweden honored for character, competitiveness, and athleticism.
Oh, nice guy.
A
Yeah.
guy Buffalo could really use.
I mean, like, why not? In a way, like, why not just kind of go back? Because it has been a weird
not?
season. It's been in flux. Like, honestly, like when we talk about like a lot of scouts, like I'm looking at a scouting report right now, and they're like even the World Junior coach, Thomas Munton, even said that he has had a better year than Lucas Raymond and Alexander Holtz, and he has comparables to like a Philip Forsberg, or the highest is like a Henrik Zetterberg. And it's again like what we're talking about, like we don't know what this draft's going to be like, but I think that if I were him as well, I would still kind of go back as at the same time, because it's been such an unconventional time for really everything in this world at this point, that why not go for a full season again and just try to improve? Like, he's going to get drafted regardless. It's going to be there, the opportunities, but I think in his heart, he kind of knows that he's not ready for a top 6 position. And the way he's built, he's 5'10" and less than, I think, like 180 pounds. Like he definitely cannot play a bottom 6 role.
I remember reading something about him playing with Holtz or something. Whether it was overseas, or a guy that maybe New Jersey could, if they don't trade that pick for the defenseman they want, that those two could have some Swedish energy. I don't know. But the Devils, man, the Devils. Okay. Pierre LeBrun had a little bit of content to spill out. Honestly, listeners, before last night, the document was bare. It was not looking great. But today, the rumors are afloat. So Pierre LeBrun has a little nugget saying that apparently teams are calling the Panthers about unrestricted free agent Chris Driedger, who I thought was an RFA like all year. What happened there? Was it games played? We don't know. Anyway, though, teams are calling ahead of maybe Seattle, maybe it's just some shenanigans, because listen, if you think he's good enough to be a starter, who cares? I love when I look up the NHL standings and the search result gives you like blue fireworks because it's Tampa, and I can't escape the sadness. So I'm going to list a team.
Okay.
And you're going to tell me, do they need a goaltender? And could they be interested in Chris Driedger? Okay?
Okay.
We will start in the North Division.
Okay.
Starting at the bottom to the top.
Okay.
The Canucks.
No.
No. The Sens.
Yes.
No, I don't think so.
Listen, they need a better goalie than Matt Murray, but they have a bunch of young guys, right?
Right.
The Flames, they can't afford it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah. Maybe.
They're stuck with Markstrom. Montreal, no.
No.
Unless, like they lose Allen, but no. Winnipeg, maybe if the right price for like a really good, no, they mean like defense. The Oilers?
Yes.
Yes, twice.
Toronto.
Kind of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why only kind of, Daniel?
Money, assets.
You know what?
I think they're still figuring that out.
I wonder if there's a team out there that just completely overpays Driedger, because like, what does his sample size really say?
Edmonton.
Yeah. The Ducks, you have more important things to worry about. The Ducks.
You have John Gibson. You're okay.
The Sharks.
They could use a goalie.
Yeah. They just can't afford it.
Yeah. The Kings are kind of stuck with Quick, but then Peterson's pretty good.
Yeah.
The Coyotes will have Kemper and Aiden Hill, so they're fine. St. Louis need a backup if they can shed Tarasenko's salary, maybe.
I could see Driedger going there and just supplanting like Bennington, or like pushing Bennington to at least play better.
I feel like you're only saying that because you want Bennington out the starting net.
Remember, I'm like his number one fan on the show.
Yeah.
It's just the last 2 years have been rough.
Minnesota.
No. Well,
No.
I'll let the expert say.
Kakinen and Talbot, right? That's
Exactly.
fine. Vegas, no.
No.
High Vezina Trophy winner, and the guys who have a Vezina Trophy winner and want to trade him.
Yeah.
Colorado,
Depending on what happens with Grubauer. If they lose Grubauer, then I can see them going after Chris Drieger.
Buffalo, no. He doesn't. They could use him. He's not going to Buffalo.
Yeah, he
I was
doesn't
gonna say
sign.
no.
Sorry.
New Jersey are young. A decent, maybe a tandem with Blackwood, even though they just signed Wedgwood, but who cares?
Yeah, I could see them. I
I don't
think
want them
yes.
to ruin that tandem name though.
If you want a young guy to maybe make Carter Hart sweat, Philly,
Ooh.
I don't think it's their first priority because of defense, right? But
Well, they'll be acquiring Seth Jones this summer.
so Friedman said they're only going after Jones.
Yeah.
This was today. If he commits to them, which I think is interesting. The Rangers and the Islanders are fine. We can agree with that. Here's an interesting one: Boston.
Oh,
So we know Rask will be out the first, few months of the season.
Yeah, he probably won't be back till the new year.
We don't know, there's going to be Yaroslav Halak, who also is a UFA. And
He's coming to Montreal when Allen gets claimed.
and what are you going to do? You're going to have Jeremy Swayman and Dan Vlader as your
those
two
are
guys?
amazing names, by the way.
They are amazing names, but I could see them bringing Chris Drieger and then having one of those two guys. And once Rask is back, there you go. There's your tandem.
So if Samsonov is going to be the guy, I don't know if they want an upgrade on Copley or Vanacek, or maybe if Lundqvist is good to go. But the Caps, I think I don't know how much money the Caps are going to have. Like if they lose Evgeny, maybe, but I'm not sold on if that's what the Caps would do. You know what I mean?
I think they could have addressed that, and they kind of did, obviously, in Lundqvist. But I do think Vanacek or Copley is what they're going to do.
Here's the big one.
Let's hear it.
If they don't make a move to get Fleury back, Pittsburgh need a goalie.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
They desperately need a goalie. They do every day.
Samuel
of the week.
Poulin,
Exactly.
traded for Chris Drieger.
Exactly. Even if it's just the rights, we
Here,
appreciate it.
We'll give you a prospect for the rights. Our best prospect for his
Okay.
for the rights.
I'm not going to mention the last place Central team for obvious reasons.
Who's the last
Detroit.
place? Who's the last place?
It's Columbus. I don't want to ask. Yeah.
No.
Detroit.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know what Detroit are going to do this offseason. Like, are they going to like what did Detroit even do? Besides go get Tyler Johnson, because we know it's going to happen.
So they have 2 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks, 2 third-round picks, 2 fourth-round picks, 2 fifth-round picks, a 6th, no 7th. So they'll also have Tampa Bay's first-round pick for next year when they trade for Tyler Johnson, or the 7th. I don't know. Who knows at this point? It's Steve Yzerman.
Yeah, good guy.
See, the thing with the Red Wings is I don't know what they are, because I think it was a couple months ago, Yzerman came out and pretty much said, yeah, the rebuild's going to take longer than we thought. And it's like, well, wait a second. I'm like, I thought Steve Yzerman was going to be making moves.
Yeah.
I think Verana's traded for even more picks.
Yeah, exactly.
The Blackhawks need to figure out Lincoln, and who knows what's going on with Ben Bishop, but let's just say the Stars are healthy. No. Nashville? They want, let's say Rene retires, and then they want to go Soros and Drieger maybe.
Don't they have what's his name again?
They have Starov?
No, what's his name again? Connor Ingram.
Oh yeah. Okay, never mind that.
Yeah. Well,
The guy who was caught in an illegal gambling game or something.
Yeah.
Was that him?
It
Well,
was
he
him.
was throwing games. Yeah.
It was him and Grunstrom on that team. Tampa, never count them out. They could do it. I wouldn't be surprised. Florida, no, he's leaving.
Yes.
Yeah.
Carolina.
It is an option. If
Yeah.
the thing with Carolina is they're probably going to do this tandem thing again, and it's like, guys, just they need to have a goalie that they trust as a number 1, but still have a good enough backup. And I think that's what's been their issue for the last couple of years, and why I think we were all on board with them going after Leonard. Obviously that didn't work out, but they just need an actual goaltender. And I don't know if I trust Alex Nedeljkovic yet.
feels like they would probably hope that Nedeljkovic is going to be as good as Drieger. But I
Right.
mean, just get good goalie. By the way, Tampa, I do think people are talking about that they're going to go and get their better backup, because what you have to realize about Vasilevsky, he is young. We're going back to a normal 82 game series, and you kind of realize how long the freaking playoffs, like, guys, like, I think we all know this. The Leafs series feels like forever ago with Montreal.
I feel like I've aged 3 years.
And
So have I.
we've got to realize, like, how many deep runs Tampa have gone on. I think they need to get a quality backup goaltender for Vasilevsky. I think that's a big priority for them. And also probably why Winnipeg should look at it. Okay, if lads just want to quickly go on Twitter, see if we're going to miss anything. Can't wait for Eichel to get traded to Montreal after this.
But Winnipeg has Laurent Brossoit. Remember
No one cares about Laurent Brossoit.
No, but remember we even looked at his numbers and they were like pretty decent for a backup. And it's like, okay, Paul Maurice, you're not playing Ville Heinola and you're not playing Laurent Brossoit. It's like, what are we doing here, guys?
So before we go, I want to say one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
And this is to anyone who has the chance to go to a viewing party for a playoff game at, like, your home arena when your team are away.
Yeah.
So they were selling the tickets for the games at the Bell Center. It was $10 a pop to go watch the game at the Bell Center. Pro tip, go to the 200 levels because you get a perfect view of the Jumbotron. Loudest building I've ever been to. Dwarfs a playoff atmosphere there at the Bell Center. It was mostly full of drunken teenagers, naturally.
Right.
And I did see some beer fly, which is kind of annoying, and some young people, very much young people. I'm 21, and like them trashing Toffoli, wasn't happy with that. But like the noise, because it's a much more like, you also get like families that normally aren't going to pay $1,000 to go shell out tickets to bring their whole family.
Right.
It's just a really, really fun time, and loud buildings, some chants. I just think if you, and again, I'm saying that like I've been to games before. I recommend to anyone who can get a chance to go see one of these games at a viewing. It's amazing.
Yeah. Two things. I thought you were going to bring up our viewing parties. I'm like, I don't think anyone else should be involved in those. No one else should be involved in those calls. It's just the three of us.
They'll be back soon.
If you're ever Daniel ever wants to join. Two, I honestly can see teams post-pandemic doing the viewing parties, because I think, number one, they have lost a bit of money, and I think it's a great way to generate revenue, and it's also just a cool experience.
I don't know why more teams don't do it more often. Like, even like normally, like as the playoffs go on longer, you might normally see it, but you can just make a quick $10 a pop to fill out an arena. You can do it super easily. I don't get why more teams don't do it. I don't understand it at all. Really, you can make some buck up. Like, if you're Arizona and you do that, you can pay your player signing bonuses.
There we go. Then we don't have to talk about Arizona every other episode doing something stupid.
For anyone who cares, the Canadians will have their season-ending media availabilities tomorrow at 10:15. Ducharme will speak at 3, Bergevin at 3:30. So that'll be sad.
I'm sure we'll talk about it next episode.
I don't know listen, I don't know how long it's going to take me to actually watch them because of the pain.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm sure your guys will at least be honest and truthful.
Yeah. You know what's really kind of cool, by the way?
What's up?
I've purposely not talked about Carey Price a ton today because I like emotionally can't take it. Good on him and Perry for shaking the refs' hands after the game. I thought that was very classful of them. And that Carey Price was the guy going to every player after the game and patting everyone on the back and being like, "It's all right, guys." You know.
Yeah.
This is why goalies should be allowed to be captains. Really great guy. Really great guy.
I still don't understand that rule.
Because this is a dumb league. It's a dumb league. The NHL is Bush League.
Bush League.
It is a niche sport. It's a great sport, but it is a terrible league. I saw, who was it? I think it may have been one of the people on Staffing Graph were like, I love hockey, but boy, am I sick of the NHL.
Yes, yeah.
And it's so true. It's so true. But that's everything for today. Next time we see you, I can't imagine that there isn't some significant developments around the league next time we record.
We say that, but every
I have
year.
to believe it. I have to believe it. This has to be the summer. It has to be it. I can't wait for the Flames to not trade a single core piece this offseason. Because you know they're not going to because they suck. Anyway.
And Nashville.
Well, Voice Ed, fantastic platform for the show. As always, check out everywhere that we do social media stuff, including the TikTok. We love the TikTok, especially the Facebook, which we just abuse like a flower growing in the desert.
Like most people who use Facebook.
Okay, beside that, check out Alex's blog, my YouTube channel, video coming soon once I'm over my depression. Daniel's stuff for the Hockey Riders and former stuff for the Eye Opener, all that kind of stuff. Beside that, is that everything? I feel like I'm forgetting something. Spotify, iTunes, it's not iTunes, it's Apple Podcasts because
Exactly.
it never made sense it was iTunes because it's the same as the music app.
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna go have a steak dinner, guys.
Okay. Don't shadow ban me, Mark Zuckerberg, please.
Exactly.
I was trying.
Don't sell my information to the Russians.
Too late.
But then,
But